or GRPs are about did you get what you bought? And we lack true definition in the industry for a lot of things that we could all benefit from, like what is user-generated content, what's appropriate to show an ad next to, what's questionable, above the fold, below the fold, all those kinds of things, right? So all that stuff is going to go in the verification bucket, whether a platform does it or an independent third party does it. And I think what the industry needs is kind of a governing body, a digital operations senate that has agency folks, and I mean, it's kind of akin to what we created with the MRC audit and the MRC board, where you've got parties from around the table that are together a couple times a year, and they look at the evolution of these definitions and the application of these types of things to the industry, because we'll continue to do this poorly from here on out.
This goes back to one of the things we've talked about in general around standards is we can't come out with something and just revisit 2 or 3 years later. Our industry's moving too fast, and we really need to be constantly upgrading that. We're out of time, but I just want to ask one last question. So Mitch already talked a little bit about it, but I want to get the panel's perspective about what next. So we've got the standards now, and to Zack's point, we're not quite there yet, but hopefully some of the vendors will essentially go ahead and fix the technology according to the standards, or make sure that they're compliant with the standards, get audited. Beyond that point, what next? What's the future of verification services? Are there other things that we see down the pipeline? Besides what Mitch said?
You said everything.
Okay. What about video? What about mobile? Are you hearing anything in that space?
I think it's very nascent in the sort of emerging video, especially mobile. I think people don't even know where to start. I think a good starting point would be definitions. I feel like our industry, we always sort of are 20 steps behind. So now that something has been implemented and we're using it, then let's think about definitions. Let's think about what the standard should be. And maybe it'll be a good place for us to say, we already have something for display. How can we apply it to mobile? How can we apply it to video? And come together in a more sort of discussionary format to say, how are we going to tackle this and be more forward thinking? I don't think if we're going to sit behind and let the technology drive it as opposed to let the business and the business needs drive it, we will always be behind.
Okay. In terms of mobile, I mean, we're seeing some cool technologies that let you target the actual content in terms of video, that let you target the content of a video, which is pretty cool, down to an actor or an actress or specific content happening in a video where you can actually target based on that. And that started off as more of a verification type service. But again, you're seeing model being flipped on its head, and you're going to see more of that, I think.
Yeah, it's coming, for sure. And I think to Grace's point, we're all better off if we start the dialogue now. If we let the technology companies sort of define that for us, we're going to be on our heels again. So this is a great opportunity for us to come together and just start talking about that now and open the dialogue.
Okay. What about, go ahead, Zack.
Just one quick important one on that. As the lines of service that these companies provide evolve, that's where we have to stay that connected, right? Because they've been approved and audited and certified or will be, and then a larger set of premium publishers that haven't accepted them or have been tough to deal with in the topic so far will start to accept them more. But just because they've got a pixel on a page doesn't mean they can also become a targeting provider like that's accepted. And so that dialogue amongst all of us, qualifying what the needs are and then going after them the right way is key. And we've done it really well in the industry a couple times with the counting, defining the counting for ads. We're about to do it in a positive, proactive way with viewable impression and making measurement make sense. We need to do it for this stuff too.
Yeah. Can I make one comment on that though? From everything I've heard you mentioned, and I agree, so Grace said they built in appropriate protection for the agencies and their clients. And Zack, you talked about publishers. As they go through their own individual certifications with vendors, building in the appropriate protections. But I heard at a recent ops conference that there was a show of hands in terms of how many folks actually do certifications, and it turns out a majority don't. Majority will just accept every tag that comes their way. And so that's the one thing I would say is in order to build the appropriate protections, it's really critical that individual publishers and ad networks do get certifications in place so they can build in the appropriate legal protections and stuff like that. So that's going to be probably very important for the ecosystem.